So this is the BFKB113PBK. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know. It's not a mechanical keyboard, it's a scissor switch keyboard. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a mix between mechanical and membrane, though it's not the same as mechanical. The interesting thing about this specific keyboard though, is that it's widely regarded as the god keyboard, as far as Osu Taiko goes at least. It's been used by U68, Shinchiku Home, Maji Manji, Devi, and many experienced Taiko players. Actually, for the most part, many Taiko players seem to actually prefer low-profile keyboards, including ones on most laptops. The working theory is that the incredibly short throw or travel distance on all of these keyboards allow the same key to be tapped consecutively much faster, which in Taiko terms is really good. Not only that, because of the low profile, it's easier to switch between keys if you're playing with two fingers, aka the authentic Taiko playstyle that emulates the drums. Aga1115, aka Sina, arguably one of the fastest standard players in the world, uses the BFK. Their playstyle is click X, so they only need to tap one key on their keyboard consecutively extremely quickly. So basically, the BFK is pretty goated when it comes to Taiko and single tapping. So today we're going to compare it to the Wooting Two HE and its magical rapid trigger powers. So just a quick refresher, what exactly is rapid trigger? I like to think of it as like a dynamic actuation point. The actuation point is the distance that a key must be pressed down before it registers as a keystroke. For example, on Cherry MX Reds, the actuation distance or point is 2 millimeters. So you need to press the switch down 2 millimeters before it actually sends an input. The problem is that any downwards motion you make below that 2 millimeter actuation point is completely ignored by traditional switches. What rapid trigger does is it basically eliminates the whole problem of actuation points. Any downwards motion you make at any point in the switch's travel registers as an input. So what does that mean for us? It means speed. Single taps and streams become cakewalks once you get used to rapid trigger, essentially. You might see where this applies in our little keyboard battle, the legendary BFK versus the equally legendary Wooting. Two keyboards favored by two different game moods. But I'm just going to focus on Taiko today. Important to note that I am not a keyboard expert. I just like pressing buttons to music. If you want a more in-depth review by someone more knowledgeable on keyboards, I would recommend watching Tokaku's video on the Wooting. For today's video, I'll be focusing purely on Taiko. So let's start with the BFK first. As I mentioned previously, it's the quintessential Taiko keyboard. Scissor switches feel light and are just satisfying to click. It's really easy to do complex patterns on these, and mono streams or single colored streams are a cakewalk. The only realistic limit is the player. Basically, I suck. I've heard people say the switches feel mushy, and they're not exactly off. But from my experience at least, it's not a problem on Taiko, to be honest. You never really need to hold down a note, and most of your taps are quick releases, so it never really becomes an obstacle. Actually, you might start liking it like I did. Another thing is that this keyboard is very quiet. Taiko players tend to hit pretty damn hard, and this keyboard is quiet. However, I just want it to be noted that if and when you buy a BFK, chances are you will be using it purely for Taiko and Taiko exclusively, like I did. It's not uncommon to see Taiko live plays with a BFK, where their BFK looks like it's been mangled by a dog. The only keycaps they didn't take out are their main keybinds, so you know that's the only thing the BFK is used for. This just in, this individual has been put on the FBI's most wanted list for a multitude of crimes, including but not limited to tax evasion, murder, littering, fraud, and calling Geometry Dash a rhythm game. Now let's talk about the Wooting. It achieves that same single tapping ease through a different method, rapid trigger. Now rapid trigger does have its pros and cons. Despite how much we treat it as a godsend, it does have a few quirks here and there. For example, it can make your keyboard too sensitive sometimes, though whether that's a pro or con is up to the user. On the other hand, speed. I have to point this out. One of the main issues I had with rapid trigger at the start was that it was kinda hard to do LN, or hold notes accurately on certain rhythm games. Not only that, finger control was hard. So it's not looking too great so far. However, this is where I drop a bomb on you. Taiko doesn't have any hold notes. If it did, it'd be stupid. Taiko also doesn't really have finger control, or at least finger control as you know it. But rather we have hand control, or coordinating both hands to alternate between notes cleanly. Do you know what this means? It means that as long as you are playing the conventional playstyle of KDDK, Taiko is the perfect game mode to abuse the Wooting on! That's right, you don't even have to get used to it, just fucking slap rapid trigger on, and you can already start to feel a massive difference without suffering the drawbacks all those Osu standard peasants have to go through during their transitional phase. In my experience playing with rapid trigger, I found myself hitting patterns I really didn't think I could. This is not even me trying to be biased, the keyboard is actually just that good. I honestly can't think of a single bad thing I can say about it in relation to Osu Taiko. It's almost a cheat. However, if I'm going to be honest, the exact same goes for the BFK. If I really wanted to try and say something bad, I'd have to be nitpicking and cherry picking at this point. I think I'll conclude by giving my thoughts while I show a side-by-side gameplay of the same map. This is my best run out of 5 on both keyboards. So these are two different keyboards that can achieve ludicrous results through different methods. I don't think equipment is going to be a limiter for a long while, at least in the realm of Taiko, because most top players are still using the BFK. So it'll probably come down to one important thing: price. The BFK, as listed on Bitgraph's site, is 6,380 Japanese yen or 43 USD. On the other hand, the Wooting 60 HE is 233 bucks, and the Wooting 2 HE is 246. The price might scare you off, but it's important to know what you're buying. The BFK in all likelihood is going to be a pure Taiko beast, but it's exclusively a Taiko beast. You could use it for other rhythm games and games in general, but you're probably going to be let down a little bit in those aspects. $43 US for a Taiko shredder, not bad. On the other hand, for that $233, or $246 if you get the full size, you're getting one hell of a keyboard that can do pretty much everything, rhythm game or otherwise. I know I have since I've been using it. So in the end, you're given two completely different choices. A $43 US Taiko beast that performs best in Taiko but kind of subpar on other game modes, or a $233 cracked out rhythm game beast that can perform well across a broad spectrum. It's honestly a matter of preference at this point. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the BFK and the Wooting. At this point, whichever is best for Taiko is completely up to preference. Two legendary keyboards of two different game modes. With that though, thanks for watching.